curious about that. So,
yeah.
The Golden Globes, which we all know most of the winners, are they usually the same?
that's a great question. The Golden Globes are presented by the Hollywood Foreign Press, and like Mark said,
A questionable organization.
it's like you said, 85 to 100 journalists, and they vote on their favorites, and they like to have the more famous person take the stage. But in the past few years, and I think throughout history, they have not matched up at all.
And they're a little bit different because they separate dramas from musicals and comedies, and sometimes their idea of what is a comedy and what is a drama is a little bit circumspect. But just remember, when someone mentions the Golden Globes, they are the organization that once picked a performer named Pia Zadora as the best actress of the year. So, and they picked Scent of a Woman after they had all been flown to New York City for a weekend at Al Pacino's house. So
they love those gift baskets.
And a lot of people seem to forget that the Screen Actors Guild Awards, which was the BAFTA Awards were last night. The Screen Actors Guild Awards are the best precursor. Of course, they're just doing the actor awards, but they're the best precursor to try to predict who's going to win the acting categories, because that's the entire acting branch voting for those acting categories, and then those same people will then in turn vote at the Oscars. So you have a big chunk of the same voters.
And what makes the Oscars fun is that the nominations for the various categories are selected by the people who work in those fields. So the costumers nominate the costumers, the composers nominate the composers, and everyone votes for Best Picture. And you might have heard this year about this new system that they ranked the nominations and you had to get so many first place votes, and that's why we ended up with this odd number of 9. But the final Oscars are voted on by everyone. So that can certainly influence. And one of the things early in the evening to look for is, are there any trends that are developing among the technical awards? And so you have a film like Hugo, which, how many of you have seen Hugo? It's just, it's a thrilling achievement in technical movie making. Well, it could sweep and should sweep a lot of those awards for art direction and perhaps cinematography, certainly the sound awards, of which I think there are 10. But sometimes, just like in politics, you start voting that straight ticket, and you might keep checking Hugo down the line. Or sometimes there are many films that are ultimately nominated.
If you haven't seen Hugo, it'll be on DVD February 28th.
2 days after the Oscars.
Yep.
But no 3D.
No 3D.
No, and to see it in 3D is just sublime. It's just.
It's at Sundance right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and to see it in 3D, I mean, it is the movie that makes 3D make sense.
What is the movie?
Hugo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fabulous movie.
So have you all seen everything on this, or are there some things like foreign film where it's kind of hard to get at?
Foreign films, it's hard. Like Travis and I, Mark will hopefully soon be a member of the Houston Film Critics Society. I want to mention that we're actually hopefully voting him in on Sunday. But Travis and I, since we're our critics, we get sent, and we've seen these movies back in October, November. We get to see them before everybody else do. We actually have them at home. So I think we've seen everything except for, like you said, there's some of the foreign films that still have not opened here in Houston, and they won't send screeners for everything. So there's a couple in there that I haven't seen, like that Separation. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, foreign films and documentaries are tricky because documentary categories, I've seen 2 of the 5, and if I had HBO, I would have seen 3 because Paradise Lost 3 aired on HBO.
And for those who have Comcast, On Demand has some of the shorts on this month, and that is great. And usually the Comcast channel, the IFC channel, will have some of the foreign films as well, and that can be a great way to see some.
So Travis, do you want to start at the top and go backwards, or go from the bottom?
No, let's build up to the major categories. Let's go with let's look at some technical categories like makeup and costume design.
Okay, so makeup, if you have your ballots, we've got Albert Nobbs there, Harry Potter, the Iron Lady, and that category is interesting because there's a couple of these categories where they have to meet certain requirements. They have a certain amount of nominees, so that's why they only have 3 there. They keep narrowing it down throughout the season. Like they'll start with 10, and they'll go to 7, and then they vote on the 3.
So who are you picking? That's
I'm gonna go with the Iron Lady there.
I would too. I think that there's a possibility that the Harry Potter film, because it's the last Harry Potter film and this makeup artist has done such great work over the time. But for any of you who have seen The Iron Lady, has anyone seen The Iron Lady? It's an incredible job, and especially when you think that that movie was made for about $3. And for them to be able to convert Meryl's face into it, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I agree too with the Iron Lady. I mean, just looking at Meryl Streep, she's like a chameleon the way she can change her appearance, and the prosthetics used are much better than, say, Albert Nobbs, which Glenn Close had a striking resemblance to Robin Williams and anyone else.
And we decided that that's only fair because if you remember Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams looked just like Glenn Close, so this is kind of okay, so we agree with that.
We agree with that, but if there's a lot of those technical people who didn't see the Iron Lady and maybe saw Harry Potter, I mean, just to throw that out there, caveat, a lot of times it is, because some of these people that are voting, they don't see every movie. They're hardworking people just like everybody else.
Or they have their maid or their wife vote. So.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of times, but I think the Iron Lady's the obvious choice.